of those who went left, right, and center all over the earth trying to make Jewish proselytes. But typically, Jews are not a converting religion, and they are actually an ethnicity. They are an ethnic group. So, what I'm trying to say is this: a person, 99%, I'm going to use that figure again because it's so true, 99% of the time is born a Jew. He doesn't convert to become a Jew. All right? And this is highly significant because it means that they actually become or have become really what we can call a homogeneous racial group. There are two forms of Jews. There are Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews. The one are found more in Africa, or were especially, but were driven out of Africa. And that is an interesting thing in and of itself, which I'd like to come back to one day, since we are talking about a World War III, its global context, and the Jewish involvement. Since so many Jews who lived in countries of Africa like Libya were driven out of these Muslim countries by basically at the end of a sword or a gun, and had to find their new home, even from Ethiopia, and had to find their new home, and from Sudan, in Israel. Okay. Now, we have this actual thing of Judaism. You have three main types of Judaism. On the one hand, you have Orthodox Judaism. On the other hand, you have the ultra-Orthodox. And on the other hand, you have Reform Shul. Okay. These are three very different forms of Judaism. Each one has different leanings and different interpretations of the Torah, okay, which is primarily the first 10 books, like Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, etc. Those books we have in the Christian Bible as well. But then in addition to that, they also have some other scriptures that are consulted. Okay. So when you understand this, you can better understand what the hell is going on. If you don't understand this, it becomes all confusion. I can see one or two are saying in the context, in the script, they don't get it. Let them remember too that many of them are Christian. If they are Christian, they go to Psalm 122 verse 6, and I'm not advocating this. I'm just saying it's in your scriptures. It says, pray for the peace.
That comment is saying you are also a Jew. But no,
it's okay.
Welcome. Whether you are a Jew or not, I don't, this family, whether you're a Muslim, you're a Jew, I don't care. You are all welcome on the platform, and we treat people the same. Miss K, welcome. Continue, brother man. And
sure, thanks. I'm just
those that have questions, they'll ask questions, and we clarify, and we have a conversation. Welcome, everyone. I love you all. Sure,
thanks, Mr. Moderator. I'm just trying to clinically and unemotionally lay out certain things that have gone on and where a lot of misunderstanding has arisen. When we understand, for example, this key, as it were, scripture when it comes to Christian people and Jews as well, because they both have this scripture. Okay, I can't speak for the Quran, but it does say in Psalm 122 verse 6, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. All shall prosper that love it. Now, earlier speaker was saying that, this isn't about the Jews and Israel, etc. Well, there's a funny problem there. Where is Jerusalem located? It's located in the heart of Israel. Okay. Now, that is a...
Hey, Mr. Dean, did you get a phone call? Because that's where I'm learning about your people here. Are you back, Mr. Dean?
I'm not a Jew.
Okay, go ahead for the education. We're listening before we move over to Mr. J, because Mr. J would also love to speak. But go ahead, Mr. Dean, let's wrap up, then we go to Mr. J.
Sure, I'll wrap.
Mr. Dean, you keep on getting phone calls, or your network keeps on disconnecting. But okay, Mr. J, Mr. Patrick, there.
Thank you, my brother. The most funny part that no one wants to start this conversation is about the imposters that we find in Palestine or so-called Israel right now. No one wants to talk about who's the real Jews, who are the real Hebrews that the so-called the Bible is talking about. we just brushing it off. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if Jesus was white or black. We are saved by the Spirit and whatever and stuff like that. And someone said on the comment that Israel will win because it's a prophecy in the Bible. And I'm saying that, so if Israel lose this battle, because you said it's in the Bible, if they lose this battle, it means that the Bible is a scam. Because the Bible says that anyone that comes in my name and prophesy and it does not come to pass, it means that person is a fraud. That's what the Bible says. You understand? But now, back to what I was saying about why don't we want to talk about the originality of the Israelites or so-called Jews or Hebrews or whoever. I think someone is unmuted there, is breathing very heavily. I don't know, maybe they've been affected by the aftermath of Iran.
Please just stick to the topic. Stick to the topic.
Okay, so you look at what is happening right now in South Africa. There's a new narrative that is coming, and I'm hearing it's gaining momentum, saying that no, the indigenous people of southern part of South Africa are the Khoi and the San. All of us, we are coming from the north. You understand? So it now gives a new group the originality of saying that we are the descendants of the Khoi. You must go to Congo. It's the same thing that will happen in Palestine. And it will be celebrated by the whole world because we don't want to address issues of people, of black people, what happened in apartheid, where they've been taken from their land and nothing has been done about that, and say, aye, you must work and buy land. What's your problem? You understand? It is not only about land. It's about my space. It's about my culture. When you move me out, because certain people used to be next to a big river, let's say for instance, if they move from there, their whole culture have to be transformed. It is no longer going to be the people of that mountain, the people of that river. You understand? They have to now modify their culture. You understand? So it means that now whoever that can come and say, no, I'm the original people of the Nile River. You understand? Even the indigenous people of Zambezi cannot come and claim, because these are the new people. And they are saying, no, we are the real one. Well, now, just go. We're going to throw you back to Congo, wherever that we decide to take you. And these are the things that we are not fighting enough. We are fighting for money, we're fighting for power, but land, where your forefathers are, where you're supposed to be, where God placed you. Now, guys, I disagree. I am not coming from Congo. My descendants are not from Congo. If you guys are coming from Congo, praise the Lord for you guys. We are happy for you. If you are coming, you are brothers, we don't have a problem. Me, I'm a South African. I'm coming from the southern tip of South Africa. I'm the descendant of the so-called the Khoi. I'm a Tswana, and I can trace my lineage into, I don't know, before white people can come. And it's so fascinating that the people that are telling us our history are people that were not here. How did they saw the migration of the whole of the black people that came into the southern tip of Africa? Where were they? Where did they get this information? If we don't have that information, if my great-great-dad never told me that, no, Muchana, never forget that our forefathers, we are coming from Congo-Brazzaville. My forefathers, they don't have that information. But someone from Holland, someone from Europe is coming and telling me that, oh, yeah, you talk too much. This is not even your land. You understand? The indigenous people of this land is the Khoi. You want to tell me that a big place like South Africa was inhabited by a tiny few Khoisan people? And all of us, we just migrated. We just illegal migrants. After seeing white people come to South Africa and we come rushing, all of us. Come on, we cannot be undermined to this level. We cannot be taken for a ride like this. This is undermining our intelligence to the highest level. This is telling us that you are a fool and we agree to be fools. You understand? These kind of things, is going to destroy the whole black population, the whole of Africa. Every race from outside Africa is going to come and say, in Malawi, no, my ancestors are from there. This is my land. The Bible says this. The Hindu God says that Rwanda is my country. Hey, the prophecy was released in the USA that Namibia, Germany, we were supposed to be there. That's my forefathers' land. Where are we supposed to go? They don't want us in their continents. And we are okay with it. You understand? But now, coming, claiming, stealing, telling us our history on top of that, because we are confused. We don't even know our history. We are debating with someone that does not know where you're coming from, telling you your history, rectifying you and say, you are lying. Whatever that your grandfather told you is a lie. Me, let me tell you the real history. This is what happened. Were you here? This is what is happening with the Philistine. The Palestine. The Palestine they were very stupid to allow the settlers to come in a boat into their land and say they can live among with them. That was a very foolish decision that they could ever made. And it's going to affect their whole entire generation to come. And this is something to learn from other African countries. Never, ever, ever, even if you can get so happy, so drunk, and so delusional, do not repeat the same mistake that South Africa did with Namibia, to allow foreign people to come in their large numbers to come and stay in your land and say that you can live together. One day, they're going to kick you out. One day, they're going to rewrite your history. One day, they're going to tell you what is your history. Whatever that you know, forget about it. Your God does not even, whatever that you believe, you must just forget. These demons, those things, you must preach. You must preach what we tell you, the Bible, the God of this and that. Why are we so gullible? Why are we so foolish, Africa? Why can someone tell you that no, pap is wrong for you? You've been eating pap, your grandfather has been eating pap. Someone come as a scientist and tell you, no, pap is not good for you. This thing will kill you. This thing will unalive you. It will cause cancer. Who are you? Let me be unalive. What is your problem? Continue eating whatever that you're eating, believe in whatever that you're believing. You know, one thing I respect about the Indian people, and the Chinese, they believe in what they believe in. They worship their statues.
Sorry, Patrick.
They don't recruit. They just do
Patrick.
their thing. Yes.
Hold on.
Can we hear from others, please?
No.
No,
Let him finish. Then we move on. Let him finish, Manny. Let him finish. Go ahead, Mr. G.
You understand? I'm a Christian, but I'm a very confused Christian. I'm a Christian that is questioning things. I'm not that type of a Christian that leave his mind at the door. Like Muslims leave their shoes, and I leave my mind and not question things. And I have to believe everything. Even a robber can come and tell me that I'm going to steal your TV. It is written in the Bible, and I have to believe. No, let the thief steal. You understand? It is written, and I have to believe that. While I've worked so hard for my TV, and I have to believe that. I'm not that type of a human being. I don't just believe in things because you're telling me. You understand? One thing that destroyed Africa was religion, and mainly was Muslims and Christianity. It has finished us off mentally, resource-wise, power, how to voice ourselves, how to stand for ourselves. We can agree, we can disagree, you understand, it's fine. But we are in this mess because our forefathers were being tricked by religion. If they continue to do whatever that they were doing when they had headaches, whatever, and other disease, how they were treating it, if they would stick to that, trust you me, Africa will be a very powerful continent, just like Asia it is right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. G. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. No. Where's Dean? Dean has left. Okay. Right. I was booted out. Go ahead, Mr. Emperor. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I think just a short submission. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as human beings is to think that our history begins at the time of its documentation, because for some reason we as humans know that Earth has been here for a billion of years, like billions of years that Earth was here. And that means that human beings have moved around a lot. But we are now expected to believe that where we come from starts from the time that the Western countries documented our history. Our history goes beyond that. Our history goes beyond slavery. Our history goes beyond what has been written. So that is why I always shy away from the conversations of who was here first, who was here last, because at the end of the day, even the people that you say were here first, you're saying that because of documented history. That means we don't know what was happening before the documented history. You get what I mean? So I don't think that the conversation of who was here first, who was here last is going to help us change anything, because for millions of years, people have moved around Earth. People have moved looking for better grazing land, for better living conditions, and all of those things, you understand? So for us to then go back and want to base our history just off what was documented, and if you look at where the world is today, I don't see how that is going to help anyone, because let's say, yes, we established who was here first, then what? Because there are other people here now. If you go to China, there are black people there. If you go to India, there are Chinese people there. If you go to Greenland, there are black people there. So people have moved around the world. So the conversation of who was where when, it doesn't make sense to me, because even if we do establish who was where when, how is that going to help anyone? Because the world has intermixed. Even the world as the continents have moved apart. Not only people have moved, even the earth itself has moved. Do you understand? So for me, that conversation of who was where when, I'm not saying that people should not engage in it if there's any preferable outcome that they are looking to get, that's fine. But for me, I always shy away from the conversation, because that conversation goes just as far as what was documented. Do you get what I mean? Because even if you go to places like America and you talk about the history of black people, they will start with slavery as if the history of black people started with slavery, and when it did not. Because if you go to places like South America, what the white people called, for instance, red Indians or indigenous Americans, some of those people are black. Like if you look at them, you can actually see that these people are black. Do you understand? They're not all Indian. Do you understand? So for me, it's futile, because even if you look at the pyramids in Egypt, the most amount of pyramids that have been found in the world are found in South America, not Egypt. Do you understand? So there is still a lot that is still being uncovered, meaning that there were civilizations that were here before us. And those civilizations, we do not have a documented history of who were those people, what were their lifestyles, what did they do, where did they move to. So all of us here today can argue about who was here first, but all our argument is always going to be based on what was documented and what was told. You understand? So at the end of the day, none of us can stand here and say, I know for a fact that the original people of this place are those people. The original people of this place are those people. Even the documented history that we go on is history that is sometimes manipulated to suit a certain narrative. You understand? So for me, I try always not to engage in that conversation, because it helps no one. For me, I still stand by the statement that says Africa is for Africans. And if we say Africa is for Africans, it means whoever considers themselves and their lineage and their background as African, who can tell you you're not African? Do you get what I mean? So, like I always don't understand when people try to fight when white people who have been here for generations say, I'm African. If you're telling somebody they're from Holland and they have no family in Holland, and you find that even their lineage, if you go to a DNA ancestry, doesn't even point them to Holland, it points them to France. Do you understand? But just because this person's surname is Duplessis, and he's an Afrikaner, we tend to automatically think that this person, their DNA, their ancestry, and their lineage is from the Netherlands. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's from Germany. Sometimes it's from France. Sometimes it's from Greenland. Sometimes it's from anywhere. Do you understand? So for me, those conversations, I don't discourage people from having them. If you feel that there is a point or a narrative that you're trying to drive by having those conversations, by all means, have those conversations, suit yourself. But for me, I shy away from that because whatever we are going on is something that is documented. And remember, always something that is documented is always documented to either drive a certain narrative or hide a certain truth. Yeah, I understand. So for me, that I always put on the side. The second thing that I think Dean was speaking about earlier on, that I think I still need to learn and research, and Dean, you can help me here. Because I know that to Judaism, the Jews, that's a religion, and then Zionism is an ideology, right? So the original Jews, as far as documented history that I'm aware of, go back to the mountains of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church was the first church, even under Christianism. And there are still those temples in Ethiopia. If you watch documentaries from Ethiopia, there are still those temples up there that still have writings that the people who are guarding those temples are not allowed, or they do not want to share with the world, because there are certain truths that are there. There are scrolls that we don't know about. There are scrolls that were supposed to be in the Bible that are not in the Bible, and that makes you wonder, what are those scrolls saying? Or what other point of view do they have? Why were they taken out? What narrative? What narrative were they aiming for by not including them? What message did they want to drive by not including them? Because if you go back to the times of the Congo, when it was under Belgium, with King Leopold, who unalived millions of Africans, millions of them, when they brought missionaries, they were given strict regulation that when you preach the word, make sure that the word humbles the locals, the natives. Let them know that it is okay to be a slave of the white man. You need to preach it in such a manner that makes them understand that we are superior. Do you understand? So whenever people come up with the Bible as if, because for me, I say read the Bible for spirituality. Don't read the Bible and try and connect what is happening today with what is happening in the Bible, because even the same Bible that we're talking about, there are a lot of books that are not there. There's a certain narrative that is being driven by that Bible, and that is why if you look at the Bible, you will find the King James Version, the so-and-so's version. It's always somebody else's version, which then makes you wonder, what is it that is, like, what message, what was the idea, what message was being driven by excluding certain books in the Bible? What message was being driven by making sure that there's certain different versions of the Bible? To get what I mean? So I don't like it when people take it as a hard rock truth and say, this is it, and that's how it is. You either accept it, or I unalive you, or me and you don't see the same way, because there is a lot of our history that is not documented. And the history that is documented, that we were told about, you should always ask yourself, what narrative was being driven? Why were we told these things? Why did they make this information available and some other information unavailable? What's that other information that is unavailable highlighting that we don't know about? So I say the Bible is the truth. Read the Bible for spirituality, to connect with the higher power, with God. Read the Bible for that. Don't read the Bible and try to connect it with what is happening in the world today.
But a third of the Bible is prophecy.
Hold on, Dean. Hold on.
A third of the Bible is not that.
Granted. I will not dispute that. That is your point of view, your opinion, and you have every right to it. I'm not disputing that. I'm not saying you're wrong. If you feel that the third of the Bible is a prophecy, so the other books that are not in the Bible, are they not a prophecy also? What prophecy was being told in those books? So
I'm giving,
just by virtue of that.
Example. So I'm not trying to jump in on what you're saying. I just thought for the sake of a balanced understanding.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Dean,
Sorry.
then can we do this? Let's let him finish, and then we if we have to ask him question or add something, we add afterwards, because I think we make it a bit long, and then maybe the second round we set timers for each other, because so we allow everybody to speak. Mr. Ebner is also up there. I'm sure he's burning to say something, and there are a couple of things I'd also love to add that I think need to be corrected. But Mr. Emperor, wrap up, then we give it to Mr. Dean to answer some of the questions you asked, and then we move on. So we just let everybody get a chance to speak, guys. Let's be clear.
Yeah, okay. I think I was actually at the end of my submission, but what I'm saying is let's try and move away from the conversation of who was here first, who was here last, because in the grand scheme of things, that is not solving anyone's problem, or that is not solving none of the problems that we have today. Let's look at what our world is like today, what our country is like today, what our society is like today, what our problems are today, so that we can make it better for the people that are coming after us, our generations to come, our grandchildren. Let's make it better for them, because us being stuck in who was where, when, 6,000 years ago, 600,000 years ago, I don't see how that is helping our current situation, and I don't see how it's helping our future. It's okay to know where we come from, but I think we should emphasize more on where we are, what we need to be prosperous, where we're going. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Mr. Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, so first, one or two little things that I was ending off last time, and we seem to have some difficulty. First of all, can you hear me okay now?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
5 out of 5, fantastic. Okay. So when you look at what I was trying to drive at, is that we're going to ask ourselves a little thing. Let's do a little exercise here. We're going to ask ourselves, are Jews a national group? Are Jews a religious group? Or are Jews an ethnic or ethnicity? Now, I'd be very interested to see anybody type anything in the text to answer those questions. I'll repeat, are they a religious group? The Jews, we're talking about Jews. Are they a religious group? Or are they an ethnic group? Or are they a national conglomerate? Now, this is very important, okay? I want you to think about that. It's very important because, number one, if they're just a national grouping, then how come they're found all over the world? I see somebody saying, no, they're Europeans. False. Almost 1 in 5 Jews is non-white. They're not Europeans, those that are non-white. They're Jews made up of various nations of the world. You see, this is why I was introducing the topic earlier from the perspective that it's important to have an understanding of who it is that is fighting here. Now, a lot of the Jews are from Africa, particularly from the Sudan. They're also from Ethiopia. You also have Jews even in Zimbabwe. I'm talking about African black Jews. Oh, that's right. So, what does this teach us? Well, basically it shows us that the Jews are made up of many different kinds of people from all over the world. As I mentioned earlier, 2 main types though. The Sephardic group and Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi are more from Central Europe and Eastern Europe, okay, particularly from Russia, etc. The Ashkenazi are the ones that are based from there, as it were, or came down from there. They largely ended up in what was then called more Palestine, what became Israel. So this is when Israel comes about as a nation. However, it became a central focus for the Jewish people. Now, what about the Sephardic Jews? These are the Jews from Africa. Okay? These are non-Caucasian Jews. These are Jews who are actually black. So Jews are made up of both black and white people. They're also Indian Jews. There are Jews in India. There are whole synagogues there of Jews. These are Jews who have converted to Judaism, but they are just as much Jews as those who are Jews from their ethnicity through their RNA, DNA line. Myself, I'm 1/10 Jew, so I can speak for this. Okay, I don't want to delve too much on that, but I'd like to remind you that this means that globally, the Jewish force, as it were, as with Islam, is a very strong and homogeneous people. Fair enough, as I mentioned earlier, you get 3 different types. You get your ultra-Orthodox Jews, which are super religious who do not actually fight in the wars. Then you get your conservative, and eventually you get your reform shul, those who don't take it too seriously. So now, I wonder how many people here know how many Jews actually were in Africa and where are they now? If you go to Libya, how many Jews do you find in Libya? Because there were thousands of them there before. Where are they now today? If they are not there, where are they? If they were not unalived, where were they driven? Can anybody answer in the text? I'll be interested to see.
Then they go to Europe. The Romans will take them to Europe. Maybe I'm wrong, Mr. Dean. But I think
no, it's cool. No, I appreciate the answer. If anyone can also text in there. They never went all over Africa. What is interesting is where they went. A lot of them were airlifted in what was called Operation Moses. Okay? What happened is Israel had formed as a nation by then. This was the 1970s. I've met at least one of them I've had the privilege of meeting. Okay? But Israel flew in aircraft in order to save them from the persecution they were enduring. They were actually airlifted and taken across to the USA. We're talking about Africans, by the way. African Jews, black Jews. Okay. You can imagine why it was called Operation Moses, as in with Moses when he opened the Red Sea. And so this is what happened with these African Jews. Who were they persecuted by? Sadly, and this is not an indictment against Islam, because I don't believe what was happening there is a true reflection of Islam, but it was the Muslim forces there who were driving them out of the country, etc., and caused the persecution that they had to endure. The woman that I listened to, and I don't believe she was lying, she was brought out here to do a presentation at the Jewish Club in Durban. That's near North Beach. Okay. And there was a large audience, amongst them Muslims as well. And basically she shared that, like in her grandmother's case, she basically died of malnutrition, stuff like that, before they could be even airlifted. They'd had to march and walk for like literally hundreds of miles, not even just kilometers, nearly 1,000 miles, to get to the place where they could be airlifted. Thanks, Bezalel. It could be Operation Solomon. Okay, I'd heard of that's cool. So that's from both Sudan, from Ethiopia, and numerous other places. So I think people need to understand the degree of suffering that the Jews have had to endure, especially the ones that have made Aliyah. Aliyah, meaning the return.
Mr. Dean, you seem to have disappeared again. I don't know what's wrong with the network. Probably his network.
Can you hear me? I'm going to get a bit closer to my Wi-Fi.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. Go ahead.
Okay. So the reality there with the Jews as well from Europe now, if you go back to the Sephardic Jews, is that they were persecuted by the Russians in the pogroms, and hundreds of thousands were unalived. In some cases, at some periods of time, from Spain as well. All the time they were being driven from one place in the earth to another place in the earth. They were terribly persecuted. I'll see Ms. Kay in the comments there had said about ethnic cleansing. If there was ethnic cleansing of any group, it was of the Jews, especially by the Europeans. They were not treated as whites. So when people just say Jews are Europeans or Jews are whites, nothing could be further from the truth. If that were the case, why were the Europeans so much persecuting them? And I'm aware of the Stockholm Syndrome. I'm not saying it's not that what's going on now. Remember, Netanyahu is a radical. He is not representative, as it were, of all Jewish people either. So there's that aspect of it. So I will yield there. Otherwise, I'm taking up too much space. But I do believe that it's important to get an understanding of these things, as I say, in order to understand the situation. I'm sorry about the network. I'm just going to end off there. Just tell me I'm going. Data.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Okay, it's a bit. It's cutting again. It's
Is it getting? Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Cheers. I'll yield there. I'll land.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Dean. Before I go to my brother Ebna, it's quite interesting. You know, when you tell the story of the Jews, it's almost like the story of the Afrikaners, because also the British didn't look at the Afrikaners like white people. He treated them just like how they treated black people. But yeah, that's a story for another day. Go ahead, my brother Ebna. Ebna, you there?
I hope my network sounds okay.
Go ahead.
Awesome. I do agree with at some point with Mr. Dean, but I'm a great believer of Christianity. But as much as I'm a great believer of Christianity, I do not agree with the modern Jews that we have now that are in Israel. Because if you look at that land where they sit upon right now, the Jews have been disposed of that land so many times. I mean, they've been, if you look at it, somewhere they were invaded by the Persians, because we understand, because before they were Jews, because Jews only represent one tribe of Israel and of the 12 sons of Israel. So what happened to the other? So there was a division where the Jews would not agree with each other after the son of Solomon, King Solomon. And King Solomon, I think, is one of the people who introduced Judaism to Africa through the Queen of Sheba. But also, there was that disagreement which made the Jews separate from the rest of the 10 tribes of Israel. And the 10 went up north, and Samaria became their city. That's why you have this issue between between the Israelites and the Samaritan. Because the Samaritan is the Israelites, while the Jews moved southwards, and one of the tribes was also dissolved into that which is called the tribe of Benjamin. But when the Persians came, they took they hammered the Israelites, and they were all dispersed. Some of them were kept as as slaves. And then we understand the history of the Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar, who took the Jews as well and made them slaves, to the point where later on these Jews were later returned to rebuild the city. But came other conquests, such as we understand who Alexander the Great, came the Greek, and then the Romans took over from the Greek. But how many times have they actually been conquered, and how many times they also have to flee from that particular land? And we understand that the people that we call Palestinian today, they could be as well Jews themselves, because it was the Romans in the year 159, speaking under correction, 159, who changed that country and called it Syria Palestina, when the Jews revolted again, because they've been revolting so many times against the Romans. But this time they decided to change the land's name. So that's where that name came from at the end of the day. From there, we understand so many conquests came, and then we have now the Islam movement as well that came in. So these people that are speaking Arabic, because when Islam took over a land, Arabic as a language is also enforced upon that particular land, because the religion is enforced upon you, and since the religion is forced upon you, the language is also forced upon you, just the same as the Catholic will force Latin, that you need to study Latin, because the Bible cannot be translated from Latin, while they translate it from its originality to the language of Latin. So you have that history right there. And then from that particular history, we understand Cleopatra was not Cleopatra. Why am I talking about Cleopatra? We understand that history. The Romans came, and afterwards, moving forwards, came the fight between the Islam and the Roman Church, which we call what's the word when you send people to go fight for a particular land?
The Crusades.
There's a particular word.
Crusades.
The Crusades, yes, the Crusades. So many Crusades came to that particular land. So at the end of the day, who are the real Jews? Because when moving forward, there's a gentleman called Theodor Herzl who wrote a book called Judas Stats, and he wrote that book in agreement with what you said, Mr. Dean, that the Jews were not recognized in Europe. That's why he himself was an Australian Jew who went to France to work as a journalist, and he was surprised that the same treatment that he was getting there is getting there as well. So he wrote this book called Judas Stats, meaning that the Jews need the land of their own. And this is the book which the Zionist movement read. And then in the year 1897, That's when they met to make a decision upon this. So during the time of World War I, they were already moving into that land. Before even Hitler, before the Holocaust, they were already moving into that land because they made the decision to take that land already before all these things were happening, before even they had proper motive, because this particular thing which has been written from this book and the mistreatment of the Jews, not only the Jews, but the Jews and the Gypsies. Because when Hitler was killing, he was not only killing the Jews, but he was also killing the Gypsies. But the Gypsies were not talked about, it's only the Jews. And these are the people that were mistreated. So,
Ebna, my brother, just
let me
use
for now. Let me park for now.
No, it's fine. I'm saying just use unalive, brother. Use unalive. Don't use the keyword.
Sorry. My apology. F1. So at the end of the day, when the Jews came to that particular land, even when the British themselves who were conquering that land did not agree with it, they tried to stop them and limit them to 13,000 per year. They couldn't at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, they end up taking that land when the British left. That's in 1948. They declared that land as their own already. So at the end of the day, what are we really talking about? Are these the same Jews from the Bible who came there because of this particular book and the mistreatment that was happening in Europe? Or this is a particular different type of Jews? Because the behavior of these particular Jews, it's very much aggressive, because even when you're talking as a Christian, Orthodox Christians, because if you go there as a Christian and you are wearing like me, of course they will not do anything to you. But if you go there looking like an Orthodox Christian, you find Orthodox Jews spitting upon on those that call themselves Christians. So at the end of the day, sometimes Christians, we have this unmitigated mentality of supporting Israel, while Israel himself does not recognize you as a Christian in any way whatsoever. So let's look at it and actually think about it. Is really God in this when they start taking the land and hammering the Palestinian, those that they found on the land, or is God the God of peace? Because the same Jesus that we found from the Bible says that when someone slapped you on this other cheek, turn the other cheek. So why can the Jews not turn the other cheek and maintain peace? That's where I yield.
Thanks, Mr. Ebna. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it seems like the Jew story, like what Mr. Dean and yourself started, it's a deep story. And it's a real deep story. And I think the fact that they never really maybe did movies, or maybe they need to do a movie that explains the history of these people so people can understand. Because I like Mr. Dean bringing the concept of they are different. They're not all the same. And yes, maybe the ones today are predominantly white. That happens also when you do interbreeding amongst themselves. It's like I mentioned with the issue of how today, I think it was Mr. Emperor who said it, that how today you'll find a white man with the surname Duplessis and you think he's Afrikaans, but he's actually ethnically French, because of course the French Huguenots also came to Africa. But it goes deep, and it goes deep because I'm just reading at the various people that sacked Jerusalem. But my brother Manny asked the question. Manny, from my understanding, the first Christian church is actually in Syria. It's Europe, something, it's got a weird name. It stands in Syria. They're saying that's the first one they've discovered. So, but then the issue comes down to this, colleagues. This way it comes down. So now, are we saying what the current people in Israel are doing? Because I don't want to say the Jews, like Mr. Dean said, not everybody's involved. What the current people of Israel are doing is correct. Because I understand their mindset is to try and build back their homeland, meaning recapturing the land they've lost. Is it what they're doing today by fighting this war with Iran, Lebanon, and their various neighbors? Does it make sense, or what are we saying here? Are we agreeing with them, or are we saying what they're doing is wrong? Let me go off, Let's start with you, Jay. Or let me start with Manny. Manny, do you have anything to say, my brother? Because you've just been quiet. I think I'll give everybody 5 minutes, eh? I think 5 should be. Manny, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I don't really have anything to say. I just have some things to add. Yes, the first church may be in Syria, but what I was saying is that the first Christian nations in the world were either Armenia or Ethiopia. And I was just saying that to add on to, I think it was the emperor when he was speaking about how the Ethiopians and the Kushites have a relationship with being Jewish. That's the only thing I was saying. So no, I don't have anything to add.
Thanks, Manny. Let me stop your timer. Look, that's also a debate I was involved in. Mr. Dean, I should have invited you to it. We're actually talking about Christianity in Africa, and many people said Ethiopia. And the professor corrected. He said, not really. Christianity was brought to Ethiopia in the 4th century. They were actually practicing African religion. So probably they were practicing the religion you see in Egypt. But it was a monk that came and converted the next king. So when he became king, he said, we'll become Christians. So that's the interesting. I was actually shocked. I thought it organically started here. But let me move over. Mr. J?
Yeah, thank you, Nduna. Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I wanted to start it with that one of Ethiopia, because if I believe all of us have read the Bible, even though there are people with superior logic saying that we must not read the Bible like a book, you must read it in spirit. So the spirit has to help you. Maybe some of us will just read it over and over as a book, but the explanation at the end of the day, we're gonna get it the same. You might have the infused power of the Holy Spirit that shows you other things that does not make sense to us. I understand, but in the Bible they say that Queen Sheba came to be one of the wives of King Solomon, and he was practicing, something that was outside Solomon's culture. And one of the things, behavior of Solomon was largely kind of, how do I say it, was influenced by many women that he married, including Queen Sheba. That's when they say that he started to entertain certain cultures, certain religion and stuff like that. But that's something else. So, like you're saying, I also believe that Christianity was brought to Ethiopia. It was not started there. There's not even a trace of that. Ethiopia might be, where they have kept the secret, the books and whatever, and the culture far more than most countries. But what I'm perplexed about was Ethiopia the Ethiopia of today, or was it a little bit bigger? And the Bible clearly described the Messiah, Jesus, that he was a woolly man, and he was a bronze-like in color. Then what's up with this curly hair, guys? Are we just gonna say it's inbreeding? This Middle East infestation of curly hair, where does it come from? If Jesus the Bible describe him to be someone closer to be I'm not saying an African, but closer to being described as an African, yet he can hide in Egypt. And I believe Egyptians were black people. How do you hide as a Pakistan or a Muslim or an Iranian or Palestine child in a black society? Does that make sense? But like I said, maybe most of us, we don't have superior logic in reading the Bible. But it puzzled me. It puzzles me to try to understand how can a Caucasian survive the harsh condition of Africa, the sun, the desert, the working hard. How is that possible? How is that even practical? Because you see, even the current so-called Jews in Israel, they have used technology for them to live there. Without technology, it will be close to impossible for them to survive, because the sun is very hot and they need sun screen and stuff like that. So now the question is, I'm hearing Dean trying to explain the helicopter, airlifting people to USA, and I'm confused. I'm not even getting it. Maybe I'm too slow. But then we look at, if the Bible really happened there in Palestine today, in Israel, where Israel is today, I don't think that as black people in Africa, we have any business to do with the Bible. I don't think that the Bible is for us. I really don't think that there's anything that links us to the Bible. I don't see any prophet that is black, yet the Bible is describing all these people to be black. But the narrative, the history, the teaching and everything is telling us, no, Jerusalem, the city of God, the promised land is there. But the people that are there, who are they? They're practicing the culture. They're living the way that so-called the Jews and the Hebrews that they are living. And if you look closely in the Bible, and I heard one brother saying that, no, we must not go back and say who was here first and stuff like that. It's very important. You will never know where you're going up until you know where you're coming from. Who you are is far more important than where you're going. Far, far greater. You understand? You can try to whitewash the whole thing and say, let's just forget everything and we are one society, we are multicultural people. But you know what? It served the purpose of, I'm sorry to say this, Dean, I'm not being a racist. It served the purpose that are coming from the US, people that are coming from the Europeans, to become multicultural. It serves you guys right. But for us, for me as a black man, it totally, not even dilute, scrap everything that represents me as a black person.
Yeah, the lion.
I can try to hold on to my culture, but how things are moving so fast and our people's mind is saying, and even our fellow brothers and sisters, they say, no, man, leave those things. Those things are old things, man. Don't believe in those things. We are in the 20th century, whatever, and stuff like that. Then what about my culture?
Mr. J, I agree. Your 5 minutes is up, my leader. I think you're not looking at the screen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hey, I can talk. Hey, okay, fine. I will leave it at that. But in closing, let me just say that I think we are scared to really talk about real issues. Who's the real Jew? The true definition of the Bible. What is the Bible really saying? Who's the people in the Bible? What is the Bible? Was it altered? Because it was taken by Nero and Rome. Did they change everything? And how can you explain to me if these people were part of us? The first time we see white people, Africa as a whole, we're shocked. Who is these people? We can nothing. We have never even, none of our history in the whole of Africa knew white people up until they came with ships. So if they were coming from Africa, why would we forget them? I will close it there. Thank you, my leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. Thank you very much. You asked the question, what was Ethiopia called? It was called the Kingdom of Aksum. It encompassed Ethiopia, North Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Sudan. So it spread that direction. That's what it was called, because it didn't call it Ethiopia. And that king who took Christianity in the 4th century was King Izan. I hope I'm saying his name right. Emperor Izan. They don't have pictures of him. They actually just have coins. I don't know how he looked like. But the conversation on how Jesus looked, I will leave that for now. Let me go to Mr. Emperor. Mr. Emperor, 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Let me just start by saying to Mr. J, when I was speaking about the past and letting go of the past, I wasn't saying let's forget the past. The past is very important for you to know so that you can be grounded. But what I was saying was we cannot build a future that is engulfed by the past. It's important that we do know the past so that we do not repeat the same mistakes that were made in the past. But we cannot expect to have a bright future if our future that we are planning is overshadowed by matters of us trying to find out who has the right to what based on the past. All I'm saying is know your past, understand your past, but don't let it engulf your future, because where we are right now, we are talking about wars that will shape our future. Therefore, being stuck and to keep going back to the past while we are here in the present talking about the future. In my experience, it never helps anyone. My second point that I want to make is, for me, I honestly think what is happening in the Middle East right now is bad. It is really bad, and I wish that there was enough honesty in the world for countries like the Jewish state of Israel and the Western countries to be honest about their real ambitions. Their ambitions is to ensure that the Jewish state of Israel expands in the Middle East, take back the lands in the Middle East, and not lie to the world and play the victim card. Because if you notice, those people will always play the two cards. They will, if you're criticizing them, they will always say you're anti-Semitic, and if you're criticizing them, they will just they will make you the most evil person in the world, and they will always go back to history. They will always bring that guy from Germany with the mustache, and they will, they will always play the card with you. So I just wish that they would be honest, because in 2020, the United States of America facilitated the signing of the Abraham's Accord. And according to the Abraham's Accord, this was meant to normalize relations between Israel and its neighbors. And that accord was signed by countries like Bahrain, I think the United Arab Emirates, and some other countries. But they were still in the process with countries like Saudi Arabia and so forth. So what they are doing right now is they are making sure that they are chewing the elephant that is the Middle East piece by piece, because what they're doing is they don't want Israel to revolt against all of the countries in the Middle East, because they know that they will not win that war. So what they are doing is they are normalizing relations with these countries, and then they are chewing them one by one, because trust you me, once Saudi Arabia normalizes relations with Israel, once Turkey normalizes relations with Israel, and they attack Iran just like they attacked Iraq, they will go one by one. They will turn on each country on its own, while making sure that the other countries do not help. When Donald Trump was at the G7 just a few days ago in Canada, the first thing he did when this whole thing broke out, he jumped onto the phone, he started speaking to his partners in the Middle East, which is Qatar and Saudi Arabia and a lot of those people. So what they're doing is they're saying, Israel, attack here. What we will do, we will go to the other guys and just calm them down so that they don't join the fight too. And trust you me, they began with Iraq. They go into Iran. They will go, and Syria and Lebanon are already on their sides. They will go one by one until they achieve their ultimate goal, which is to return to Judea and Samaria. Now, I think it's bad that they're not telling the world the truth, but I think the one thing that is more bad, if there is such a word, is the fact that the rest of the world is watching this in real time, and we can see exactly what is going on, but we're still letting them whitewash us and throw sand in our eyes by pretending that they are doing this for the greater good. Listen to Benjamin Netanyahu every time since 1996 in front of Congress of America. He never says Iran is a threat to Israel alone. He always says Iran is a threat to Israel and is a threat to America and the rest of the world. This is the same Benjamin Netanyahu that went to Congress and said 9/11, which is September 11, was good for Israel because it meant that. Yes.
Example. Your 5 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bali. Okay, look. Thank you for mentioning Sumeria, because that's the birthplace of that's the country Jesus was born in. That's where Nazareth is, and the people of Nazareth are not white, like my dear leader here, Mr. Dean. They're not white like him. They're brown. They're brown in color, with curly hair. But Mr. Dean, over to you, my leader. Let me give you 5 minutes.
Thank you, leader. So yeah, here's the thing. First of all, I know some are saying, and I like to address what's also in the comments here, because I mean we're all involved in this discussion out of respect, saying, well, why the Bible, etc. The thing is, to actually divorce this from the Bible is a problem. I'll tell you why. First of all, it's especially the Judaic nation which I was described, which is Israel. Then they center themselves on specifically more of the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. Secondly, and just let me mention that they are therefore driven in their actions, their decisions. Netanyahu, when he makes a decision to do this or do that, he is largely driven by what it says in those scriptures. So, you know, to actually throw it aside doesn't really add up. Secondly, for the Christian nations, if I can call them that, specifically America, and particularly the Republican, which is now in power under Trump, all right, they are what they call the Bible Belt. If people have heard of that, you know the Bible Belt. These are especially like your Baptists and all that are very, very pro-Israel. And why are they pro-Israel? It's because they believe that the Bible is teaching them that Israel is blessed of God and that there will be this great war. Revelation 16:16, Isambulu, in Zulu, the book of Revelation says that they were gathered to this terrible battle, which is like this World War III. So basically it's saying, and to answer, because nice to stick to topic, is World War III avoidable? Well, if it's based on what it says in the Bible, then Revelation 16:16 is saying, no, it's not avoidable. It will happen. I'm not saying it, and I'm not saying definitely the Bible's saying it. I'm saying this is what they are saying. So can you see how their involvement is based on their belief, their particular interpretation of the Bible? All right. So then we have the Quran, because Iran typically, like the Ayatollah, the Khomeini, the supreme leader, is especially believing very strict interpretation of the Quran. And so you can see that the nations have pitted themselves up against one another on the basis of religious belief. You know, somebody else also earlier in the comments was saying it's a religious one. I was thinking initially, no, that's not, but I think they're right. In a sense, it is a religious battle, and we need to understand its dimensions. Having understood that, then we can also understand its secular nature. We understand the ethos or the fighting spirit of the people that will be involved. Okay, so that helps us understand whether human beings will fight forever. If they can resolve this in some amicable way, which we don't see happening, because unaliving of over 500 now at the moment, and it's in 5 days, so it's an average already, and that's not counting all the people that have been buried under rubble, etc., who are missing, meaning many of them will be unalived too. So yes, they would fight forever, but I'm saying, okay, now that if the Bible is true, then what it promises is an end to suffering, etc., all this kind of stuff, and end to war, but only after final climatic battle. So I'm not saying that that is necessarily true. I'm saying that's what it seems to say in that same book. So whether or not the people who are fighting are believing that, I don't know. All right? So now, what do we got to especially concern ourselves at this point in time with our belief is, how radical is Netanyahu's stance? Will he ever back down a little bit? Will they allow for a time where there is, like they've had in Ukraine often, when they said, okay, we will allow for a clearing of people, we will allow for this, everything happened with Palestine, the Gaza. Or are they just going to continue bombarding one another? Because I believe there will be respite, there will be times in which they can say, okay, now we're going to allow for and moving out, etc., civilians, etc. Periods.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks. No, with Benjamin Netanyahu and his
Hi guys, how are you?
Ebna, proceed. Okay, let me. Sorry, Ebna. Let's do this quickly. Let me end your timer quickly. I'll restart it now. Born Bum, let me give you some ground rules. When you join the live, you mute yourself. You don't just come and start screaming. You'll be given a chance to speak. Everybody is given a chance to speak, and when there's a person speaking, please respect the speaker. You'll speak afterwards. So go ahead, Ebna, let me give you back your time. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ebna. Your time has started. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think this is a good platform to learn, for us to look at this whole entire thing from both sides, of Israel and Iran. Because if you look at it at the end of the day also, if you look at it as well is that the Islam and the Israelites, they all claim to be Abrahamic at the end of the day, because they are all children of Abraham. The Islamic ones, they will say that the Arabs will claim that they are from Ishmaelites, while the others are from Isaac. At the end of the day, but if you look at all these countries, they are very aggressive from the get-go. In order for Israel to gain the land, that the promised land, they will have to be aggressive against the land of the Hittites, the Ammonites, the Jebusite, and also against the Canaanites and the Philistines that are in that particular land. They have to take it by force through the sword. If you look at the Islam conquest as well, it has to go through a sword as well. So you have these aggressive countries, and at the end of the day, each one has its own agenda. So if they are both aggressive, who will actually win? Because if you look at Iran is not innocent either, because they are also trying to gain their influence in that particular region by supporting the Houthis of Yemen and what is this country that they're supporting just next to Israel? So they have that particular interest to have an influence in that particular land. The problem is just that they are not supported by other Islamic countries due to the fact that they are from the minority group of the Shiites, and where you have the majority of the Sunnis. So Sunnis and Shiites are not really going along because they don't really get along very well. Maybe in the name of Islam, maybe they will get along. But you must also understand that Saudi Arabia also have interest as well to be an influential power in that region as well. That's why they will always go against Qatar, because anybody who seems to be influential, they do not support at the end of the day, even though they are Arabic or Islamic themselves. So at the end of the day, you have each one with their own interest, and they are willing to do whatever it is to advance their interest. And you also have the issue of Netanyahu. The agenda of getting Saddam Hussein out of the way, who pushed it much more? It was him. And we are, just as you said earlier, Mr. Induna, the Jews have a great influence to the American government. So much so, you mentioned about what happened to Kanye West. Kanye West is not the only victim who was told to retract, or otherwise they will lose out economically, or rather their business will actually lose out. Kyrie Irving suggested a particular film about black Jews. He was told to apologize and remove it, or otherwise will not play for the NBA. Dwight Howard as well said that he stands with Palestine. He was told to remove it, otherwise he was going to lose all his endorsement deals. So at the end of the day, these people have a strong influence, and they'll push this particular agenda, and this particular agenda of theirs of maintaining that land, because all they want is to take that whole entire land of Palestine under their control. And who knows what's next that they're going to take after when they are done with that particular land. Because they are not talking about Jordan, who's next to them. They actually want to deal with countries that are much more powerful. So as I come to my standpoint again, I do not agree with this particular new Israel that we have, because to me, if I look at the Bible and the practice of the Bible, and then I look at what these particular Jews are doing, I do not agree with it at all. And especially as a Christian, saying that I stand with them. Not at all, because I don't see God as being a God that actually supports violence. The God is of peace, and is of peace. And I think why can't we put the weapons down and maintain peace by all means? So that this way, I will yield.
Thanks, Ebner. But don't forget, we're unaliving people in the name of the Redeemer, my brother. The Knights Templar. We went to those Middle East countries and we did unspeakable things. So that's the craziest part. It's quite sad that all religions are peaceful, but the way in which we exercise these religions is through violence. Because the Christians were also unaliving. They went there, fought the various Ottomans and fought them for Jerusalem, and yeah, everybody knows the Knights Templar story. The gentleman left. Okay. Jay, we come back to you.
Thank you, Nduna. You know, it's so fascinating that the children of Abraham are fighting. And I'm asking myself, where is the black people? Where do we fall under the children of Abraham? Are we even there? Because the children of Abraham are fighting. The Muslims, the Arabs are fighting and whatever. So are we not even part of the Abraham children? Descendants of Abraham. Are we not there? That's what I'm asking myself. If we are there as well, then, you know, the most laughable comment that I watched was on the comment was someone saying that actually Uganda was supposed to be Israel, the current Israel. I don't know what happened, but the way that you see that people are manipulative. They were just gonna make Uganda and create Galilee, Jerusalem, and we're gonna believe it. As Christians, we are very gullible. We can easily be manipulated. You understand? I don't think that a small portion of land like Israel, currently Palestine, that's where the whole thing happened. I really don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I think it was altered. I think it was changed. Because why would you say that the promised land was Uganda? Now things didn't work well. Now you have to flee to another one. So it shows you that this thing, it can the next 100 years, and they will just say, no, you guys were just in the mist. You understand? The pyramid history is hijacked. You understand? It's hijacked. They're telling us the Anunnakis built the pyramids. Black people, I don't know, where do we even feature into the whole thing? You understand? It's like black people are just there just to support life. We just workers. We don't have any significant history that the world can talk about. Large number as we are nowhere in history. Our history is not attractive. Our history cannot even be displayed. They even steal our artifacts. They're stealing our minerals. You understand? A black man will invent something. A white person will come and say, no, this one. All this thing from Thomas Edison to Galileo Galilei to all these scientists. A black man is behind. It shows you how inventive black people were, how they, if you follow the history of Africa, you will understand how innovative they were. We don't even have one innovation in Africa. We have never discovered anything. They even say that even Victoria Falls was discovered by a white person. And we must be okay with it. Are we animals? Are we really human beings? Are we being classified as human beings? I don't feel like black people, we are angry enough in all spheres of life across the globe that we can just let a minority of the population of the world to destroy everything that represents black people. And when we talk, you are racist. When you talk, no, you're barbaric. When you talk, no, you're uncivilized. People are fighting for their land, for their culture. And we just have to be part of the multicultural dimension of the today's world. We have to be okay with it. Today is the Christian, tomorrow it will be the Muslim. They will conquer us. Because we don't have that spirit of Shaka Zulu, that spirit of our ancestors that say that this is my culture. I stand for this. I believe this. Whatever that you believe, it's fine. The Chinese are doing it. They're rushing it. We are the only people that does not like ourselves, that does not like our culture, that does not fight for who we are, and will just go mollo with everything. Bring the Illuminati, bring whatever, we just join and say, no, you are old school. We're moving with the time. Which time are we moving?
Mr. J, can you keep an eye on your screen, please?
Sorry, my brother.
It's like you're not keeping an eye on the time. Thank you very much. But I hear you, Mr. J, I hear you. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Emperor will answer it. Mr. Emperor, are we the children of Cain? Because I know the scripture that said Cain's skin would be marked with black skin. So are we the kids of Cain? Maybe you can explain that.
You know, my brother, I'm not really well versed with that, but I think from my observation, there has to be something that is extremely special about Black people, for the fact that throughout history, the whole world has gone out of its way to ensure that they eradicate the history of Black people, they eradicate the Black cultures, they eradicate Black religion. If we were not so important in the world, I don't think the world would have gone out of their way to ensure that they enslave us, to ensure that they wipe our history, they bring confusion, they bring their religions, they bring their everything to us. But you know what? I think for every Black person out there, there's just a few things that are evidence to who we are and are evidence to which piece of the puzzle we are on this planet Earth, because there are a few things that you can just look at and they can tell you if you think about it hard. For instance, I'll make you an example. Black people, we are melanated people, right? Meaning that there is a lesser chance of us getting skin cancer from UV rays. Do you understand? Meaning that we are on this earth to adopt to this earth. You understand? It's not much of what the earth can do to a human being that affects us as Black people a lot. Because simple examples, and I know for some people this might sound racist, but it's not. Simple examples. If you look at albinos, right? Black people who are albinos. If you look at albinos, a lot of the time they have white people features, right? You will look at their skin is frail and their skin easily gets burned by the sun. They are the people that have to go out and put on sunscreen a lot of the time. And if you notice, two Black people, a male and a female, can come together and create an albino. But in the history of the world, I have never heard of two white people coming together to create a Black person. So that means we as Black people were created to be on this earth. And not that everyone else is not, but if you look at if you think about how life began in the middle of the earth, and when you look at the middle of the earth today, it's where the equator line and the Greenwich Meridian cross each other. Now the equator line is horizontal and the Greenwich meridian is vertical. When they cross each other, they cross each other in Africa. So that just tells you right there and then that there is a huge chance that life itself began in Africa, and everyone else is an offspring of black people. And there is a lot that tells us as a people. There is a lot that tells us that the original person, or the original person that all other human beings came from, must have been African. I was reading just the other day how in America they had an issue back in the day, before the Jim Crow laws, where the toque that black women wear most of the time, the toque was not actually something that black people came up with. The toque was something that white women complained about, because what black women hair did, black women hair was very attractive. Black women hair was very different, and black women hair was, all of these things. So white women complained that this type of hair is actually, it's attractive to their husbands, and black women were forced to wear a toque to cover their hair because white men found black women's hair very attractive, and it caused a lot of problems in the American. And white women came out and they said, this is nonsense. Well, black women should cover their hair. And as they did that, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
my leader, your time is up, but let me allow you to summarize.
Okay. Okay, let me summarize. So, and as they did that,
Mr. Emperor, I think you got a call or you muted yourself.
sorry, can you hear me now?
Just summarize quickly, sir. Then we move over to the other two speakers.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying is without being racist or anything, but I think as black people, we should have there's a high intelligence that we need to understand, that if we look at our bodies, our hair, our bodies, and how we are built, and how biology just feels like a piece of puzzle that we put together, it should tell you that there is definitely something that is very, very special. I don't want to say superior because I'm going to sound like a black supremacist, but it is something that is superior, that is very special about black people, for the whole world to go out of their way and ensure that black people, they don't know their history, they don't have their religions, they don't have their culture, and they went as far as taking away our languages. Because if you want to destroy a people, you start with the language they speak. Because if they don't know their language, they don't know where they come from, and if they don't know where they come from, they can't be a people. So I don't think that these people could go out of their way to ensure that they oppress us, they unalive us, and do all of these things in the world. Guarantee they didn't know that there was something special about us.
All right, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you. No, what you brought up is facts. But you know what? I've actually seen a white albino. I was actually shocked when I saw one. I couldn't believe white people can make albinos also. Like, I'm sorry I'm bringing that up. I saw a white albino before. I was shocked.
Yes, but you know the difference is that white albino came from white people. They cannot create a black person. They can create a white person because albino has all the features of a white person. So it makes sense that there is a white albino. But black people can create a white albino, and white people cannot create a black person.
No, Headman, can I come in?
Go ahead,
That's
Mr.
not
J.
an albino, my brother. That's not an albino. There are children that are born, they have a deficiency of, I think it's iron. I don't know what is that disease called. You understand? White people. Whereby, I don't know what it's called. Maybe Dean will help us. It's not albinos. But they look like an albino, but they are not albinos. It's a chronic disease.
I was, okay, Mr. J, thank you, but I was just shocked. I couldn't believe. And the person said he's albino, and I'm like, white people make albinos? I was confused. It blew my mind. But yeah, let's move on. Mr. Ebner, go ahead, my leader. Let me give you 5 minutes. Mr. Eben,
Oh,
you still
yeah, I'm still here. We ask a question. What are Africans? What are we in the picture of the sons of Abraham? It usually the Bible or some of the books from the ancient Bible, they speak about Noah and Noah's three sons. Now Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Now they believe that they say Cush is from there. He's also the father of Canaan and Put as well, I think, and also the father of Babylon, because one of the ruler, the first ruler, they say is a man called Nimrod. There's a book that is not in the Bible called the Book of Enoch. You can also get that, and also the Book of Jasher. So what we learn that blacks came from the line of what of Ham or Ham, while the Jews came from the line of Shem. Hence the word being anti-Semitic, meaning that you are the children of Shem. So that's what we understand. But what we understand as far as history is concerned, we understand that Africa was so much powerful that Europe came to Africa to learn. The greatest of Greek came to Egypt to learn. They are the one that actually named Egypt, because it means that the land of the black. While Ethiopia, they will refer the whole entire Africa as to the southern words of Africa as to being meaning that the land of people with black faces. So that's where they came to learn, and Africa has contributed so much to the teaching of Europe. At the end of the day, that the Egyptians took it. When they took it, the Romans learned from the Egypt. But the thing is, they never gave credit to the author of that knowledge, because that's why they will gratify the pictures of mummies that are painted much more lighter skin compared to those that are painted black. The pictures, the paintings that they found that are black, they will actually want to keep away. But some of them, they are in the Roman archive and other parts of Europe as well. That's why they'll remove the noses of so many statues, because they don't want Africa to get so much glory. But Africa was a country, that was a continent that actually empowered them, because they come to Europe from Europe to get food from Africa, because the delta of Egypt will feed Europe. The gold will come from the land of Cush, through Napata and Meroe. That's where the gold will come at the end of the day. Even the Greeks were so much surprised that the slaves in Egypt, the shekels that were on, they were made of gold. Even our tweezers were made of gold. That's how much gold we had, and that's how much economical power, because the strip where Israel is right now, that was so much important to us, because Egypt controlled that, because if you control that was your channel that allows you to reach out to other part of the other continents. And Egypt introduced one of the first toll gates, because in order to use those lines through the coastal plain, through the Jordan Plateau and Transjordan,